think. There we go.
Got it.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the meeting. It is just, we had a slight technical hitch there. It wasn't recording, so there we go. It is recording now. So welcome to this, the first in our spring webinar series. We've got 4 of these over the next few weeks, with one being for our esteemed alumni only. So hopefully that will include some of you. This first one is on the value of design. And just before I hand over to Kira and Scott, a couple of technical things for the call. So we are going to be asking you to put a thumbs up or to react in some way to some of the questions that you're posed. At the top of your screen, you should have a control panel, and you should have a reaction button at the top of that where you can put things like just putting a heart on mine. Popped up on the bottom of the screen there, so you should be able to put a little reaction on there. Yay, look, lots of thumbs up and things. Also, we have got cameras and phones off, so if you want to communicate with us in any way, you've got any questions or anything that you want to raise, if you could use the chat functionality, that's your way to communicate with us. So again, at the top of the screen, you've got a chat logo, which looks like a little speech bubble, and you'll be able to use the chat there to ask any questions or raise any queries, etc., or interact with each other. There is also a question and answer button next to the chat button, so if you've got specific questions, you can pop them in there as well. Either or, I'll be keeping my eye on both throughout the call. So any problems, anything that you need, use those buttons. Kira, could you just pop me on one slide?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this, as I said, the first in the webinar series is all about the value of design, and I'm going to hand you over to the lovely Kira and Scott, who are going to take you through everything that you need to know about this today.
All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the session. Sorry that we're a few minutes late starting today. I'm Kira. I'm a graphic designer with Strategic Proposals, and I've been with the team 5 years now. My background is in packaging design before that.
Hi there, I'm Scott. I've been with SP 7 years, and I've been a designer for the past 25 years, a quarter of a century, so that long.
Quarter of a century. Together with Kath, the lovely SP research director, we have put out a survey asking people for their thoughts on the value of design in bids and proposals. And today we're going to bring you some of that research along with our commentary. So it's our thoughts on your thoughts, and hopefully you'll find some of it quite interesting like we did. So just before we get started, let's just have a quick check-in and see who's with us today. Give me a thumbs up or a reaction if you're a designer. Lovely. It's run away from me. That's everyone's a designer. I'm seeing it in backwards now. Designers, I was looking for some proposal managers. Any writers? Lovely. Directors or heads of? 1, 2. Any non-bid people on the call? Probably not surprising, to be fair. Great. So welcome everyone. That's great. We have a diverse group logged in. And just like that, we had a diverse sample size of job roles of people who filled in the survey. So we kind of expected to see that, since purist role in bidding is quite rare. So nearly a third of people were wearing multiple bid hats, as we call them. And 9% of them were from pure design roles only, which is also good to see. So having a range of roles is really important in this data, because presumably designers already know the value that they bring. And if they don't, well, they've probably got a problem. And having said that, knowing the value of design and being able to articulate it with credentials are 2 different things. So this survey is really just all about the perceived value of design in bids and proposals. And so I'm glad that we've got a balanced perspective in this research. 15% of participants covered multiple roles, and we call those the hat wearers. So this isn't just people who combined designer with proposal and bid manager. It also included writing, coordination, and bid management. So it seems that a pure design only role is unusual, maybe even seen as a luxury. I've got a lot of respect for those people who are occupying multiple bid roles. We all know that managing a bid alone is often manic enough. Just want to draw your attention, Kat, some people might be having issue with the slides there.
Yeah, sorry. And now it's making noise. I had the chat turned off and I was like, that's weird. I'm asking everyone questions and no one's asking. So I'm just going to see if I can mute that noise as well. Sorry, did you say someone was having a problem with the slides though? Or was it just the chat?
Yeah. It's
oh no.
Yeah, so that's not coming.
Sophie. Okay. Sophie, I'll see if I can pick that up with you, Sophie. Thanks for letting me know, Kira. Good spot.
Probably a good opportunity for me to take a breather there. I don't want to run away myself. Probably a lot of you have realised I'm Irish and I have an Irish accent and I talk 19 to the dozen. So I need to just take a little breather and try and slow myself down a little bit. So yeah, I was wondering if anyone in the organisation, anyone in the call wears the design hat in your organisation, and a little thumbs up or hands up if you do. Yeah, lots of hats wearers. Good work. Great to see. So how important is bid design to your organisation? This is one of the questions that we asked. So design is largely essential to organisations, with only 2% saying that design isn't important. So that's great. When you consider the typical output that SP was seeing only 10, 12 years ago, you can see that the years of good work by people like John Williams promoting the benefits of propulsive design is paying off. Thank goodness that nearly all of you, 96%, believe that design adds value to bid and proposals documents, with 3/4. I'm so sorry, my slides just keep skipping ahead. %96 believe that design adds value. So we're obviously really happy to see that. That is a big relief to those of us who are in design only roles. But when we remove the designers from the data, it still holds up. That 73% of respondents still strongly agreeing that design adds value. And this sort of indicates that the positive perception of design's value is not solely driven by designers, but shared across various roles within the organisation. We asked you what word best defines design. And we got lots of different answers. No wrong answers here. My degree is in visual communications and I call myself a visual designer, but all of these terms are true. In the survey, graphic design sat at the second spot after all of above, which isn't surprising seeing as that's the most universally understood description. And with the pace of innovation of what graphic design is today, going from animation to web design and videography, the graphic part has largely been dropped by many in the industry. We asked people if they have budget within their organisation for bid design, and almost a quarter said they don't. A further 20% say that there is budget, but it's tight. I kind of wonder why this is. Is the overall budget tight, or is it just being used in other things? Considering how critical tenders are to business growth and survival, shouldn't there be at least some budget for all aspects that can impact a winning score, including bid design? It's a shame because it's also at odds with the earlier data that says bid design is seen as essential and of value. If it's so valued, you'd hope that there was some budget for it. And a little preview of my builds before they come up. Kind of working backwards. 43% of you have access to a designer, and that's great news. That means that it's intrinsic and part of the process. I was interested in this comment from a director. Bid Manager provides great design. Given the power of Office nowadays, there's no real value in external assistance. I wonder how the bid manager feels about that. Looks like they'll be wearing that design hat for the foreseeable. I think you said before that you had to wear the design hat in your company sometimes.
I did, Kira. I was when I was looking through some of these slides and some of the comments, I was saying exactly that. I've had to wear all of the hats at different times, but actually, the design one was one where I always sort of thought, I always know that I'm not that great at it, and I used to use things like smart art and think, oh, I've got this licked. I really know what I'm doing.
Smart art, oh gosh.
I know, and you wear this hat, and I think it's just one of those things that until you actually have access to somebody who knows what they're doing, like you guys, you maybe have a perception that you sort of know what you're doing, and then you suddenly realize with a crashing sort of realization that you don't really know what you're doing, and you might think, oh, that looks good, but until you have it in the hands of somebody who's really expert at it, it's one of those things that it's very hard to do yourself, or takes ages to do yourself, whereas somebody who actually is in the know, one of the designers, is so much more adept at doing it. So it was one of those things that in the past, if you'd asked me probably before I joined SP, so probably wherever that is, like 8-10 years ago, I'd have said, oh well, yeah, I'm okay at design. And now I'm like, no, I'm hopeless at design. I need someone to do it for me. So I think it's one of those that you sort of, you don't know the quality of it until you've actually experienced it. I think you might think you're doing an okay job, but it is probably an okay job until you actually see what can be done.
Very true.
Yeah.
So 60% of you have seen a major impact on your win rate thanks to design. I obviously won't hide my joy at seeing that. And if we exclude designers' answers in the survey, the data remains largely consistent. Another pleasantly high number in favour of design. I'd say that the 7% who use a designer for proposals only are probably missing out on an opportunity. If the building blocks of a design document already exist, having been done in the proposal, like your covers and your dividers and things, wouldn't it make sense then to use a designer to try and use the content for the next stage, which is the presentation usually? But maybe I'm being too presumptuous. Possibly whoever is creating the presentation is pulling assets from the proposal document, but are they avoiding the pitfalls? Like when you copy and paste an image from a document incorrectly, you get a fuzzy image, or when you poorly crop it to resize it, or if the fonts get lost after you've copied from one tool to another, from, let's say, PowerPoint to Word or vice versa. And a major bugbear of mine is when people squish the images of the sides of an image to resize it rather than pulling it from the corner, and you get this very squished look, complete indicator that a designer hasn't been near this document. Yeah.
Having said that, I often do these things myself. That there is a teaching opportunity here, I guess. Is like if you have a designer who can explain some of these things to you. I think I've been guilty of all of the pitfalls that you put up there. I definitely think there's an opportunity for some learning to happen, so that particularly if budget's tight and you don't have access to a designer all the time, then how to reuse an asset, or to how to manipulate it in the right way, and how to not just copy paste as we often fall into the trap of doing, but maybe how to do it in a slightly more professional way. There's a definite teaching opportunity here, I think.
It doesn't help that PowerPoint is almost built to create ugly design and ugly layouts. It exists to make stuff like that by default, and you have to work very hard for it not to be that way. Like, I don't know why the option exists that you can squish images this way. It absolutely, as Rachel said in the chat there, every time you squish a photo, a design fairy dies.
Yes, it's a lot of dead fairies nowadays.
Oh, lost colour is another one. Again, when you would think copying from PowerPoint to Word being both Microsoft Word, Microsoft Office tools, that they would talk to each other better, but no, absolutely not. So next question. We've asked people at what stage do you engage a designer, and the majority said that they did it before the project was started. 37% said just after the writing, and then 6% said at the end to clear up the mess. I think another design fairy dies there.
Yeah.
What do you use the designer for? Everything. Love a little word cloud. No surprises in there. This was a really interesting one. So we asked people what they thought, how long they thought a couple of typical design projects would take. And for the most part, everyone hung together pretty well, particularly the designers, which is obviously quite validating. So you'd imagine that they know how long something takes. But there's a couple of wild ones in here, I thought. So for a 30-second animation, most people understood that would take more than 8 hours, more than a day, which is fair enough. And the same again for a 2-minute headshot video. For 10 slides to be formatted, there was a big variation. And the same again for a slide deck built from a script. But I was interested that a 2-minute headshot video, most people thought it would take maybe a day or so, and that really couldn't be further from the truth, especially if it's professionally shot and it's been storyboarded. It can take a lot of time to animate even a couple of seconds. So a 2-minute video, you're definitely looking at several days for that. Marion is on the call and can attest. So I thought it'd be interesting to look at, these are the various answers that people gave versus what I'm going to call the correct answers. And which is thankfully what most of the designers agreed on as well. So a simple graphic should really take less than an hour, and a complex graphic can take anywhere from 1 to 4 hours. So yeah, I thought that was just quite an interesting way of looking at maybe understanding where expectations might be falling down. If some people think you can do something in a day, would that really take 3 days? There's obviously a miscommunication there. And also I thought some of the stuff people thought would take much longer than what it does, like 10 slides in a template. That's only going to take you about half a day. But I think some of the answers really thought maybe over a day. So very interesting.
It's good to know.
I did like.
That.
Sorry,
on you go, Kat. But
no, I was because I like the optimist that had under an hour for like virtually everything. There seemed to be like one little purple bit on there. I'm like, wow.
I did wonder if they're just being cheeky, but they did actually change a couple of them to then 1 to 2 hours. I'm like, oh, okay.
I like the format 10 slides under an hour.
I wonder, was it the same director who had the bid manager wearing the hat very happily, apparently? The design hat very happily.
Maybe.
I'd be happy with any design hat wearing person if they could do everything in under 2 hours.
Yes, what I was going to say is if you're formatting slides, you usually do 15 to 20 minutes for a slide, and it's the same for a Word document. Again, it's 15 to 20 minutes to do a page just to make sure it's perfect.
Yeah, exactly. And then there will be, variations. If you are already familiar with the brand, or if you already have all the assets to hand, you can definitely get action pretty quickly. But if it's a new client or whatever, there's an adjustment period of gathering all of the info. And then once you have everything, so there might be time up front, but then once you have everything in place, you should be able to get stuff delivered within these timelines. We were pleased to see that quite a lot of people have a library for graphics, which I don't think was very common even 5 years ago. And the fact that some people can edit them is also very useful, because there's all about saving time and being able to build consistency is really important as well. So if you have a library of graphics and you have a library of templates and a library of stuff to go to all the time, you should hopefully have a consistent visual story then through your design work and all of your materials for your company. Yes, Lucy creates her own and builds it. Well, fair play to Lucy. That's the way to do it. It's the way to save money, and you have more control then when you do it yourself. How are we doing for time? Okay.
Right on time.
Time. Yeah, 84% have a library of graphics. Also interested to see that a lot of people said a lot of the graphics were designed in design packages, and then PowerPoint coming in second at 39%. I'm not surprised to see PowerPoint near the top with design software just ahead of it. The reality is PowerPoint is giving Adobe a run for its money, literally. When I joined SP 5 years ago, I moved from a packaging design background, working in fast-moving consumer goods. And so all of the work that I did there was done mainly for print, and it was done in the Adobe Design Suite. So I got a bit of a shock when I saw how prevalent designing in PowerPoint was. And to be quite honest, I had no idea how to use it really. It was very humbling. So I threw myself into some online tutorials, and within a year, I had tamed the PowerPoint beast. I was astonished at how much you can do with it, but it is a clunky and frustrating tool to master. Mainly because PowerPoint actively tries to make everything look terrible, and you have to work very hard to make it not, as I said earlier. We're starting to hear more and more about playbooks and flipbooks, with clients asking, can we do them? There's always a shiny new thing to grapple with, but playbooks, I think, probably have always existed, just maybe under a different label or a guise. And at SP, we can and do create them, because there's not much we can't do. Technology has finally come for me and is not playing the selection of lovely SP design that I had in there. So you'll just have to visit our website, please, and see some of our example work up there, or else use your fabulous imagination. Sorry about that. All right, so nearly at the end. If you'd like to use a designer but you can't, what's stopping you? Very unsurprisingly, money is the number one reason teams can't afford a designer or time with one. And that's obviously a really tough obstacle to overcome. Maybe the budget is being allocated elsewhere and a case needs to be made for that to change. But being able to discuss the value of a design and a designer becomes even more important then. And hopefully the data we've gathered here can help you with that. We're in the process of creating a white paper that will document all this data in one neat place.
I am just going to make a little disclaimer on this one, though, Kira. So we have kept the survey open whilst we've been creating this webinar. And so I'm going to make sure that the white paper uses the most up-to-date data. So there might be a percentage point difference here or there. I can't imagine that anything's going to have drastically changed because we've literally had 2 or 3 more people. But just to let you know, if you were correlating the paper and this webinar together, which is obviously being recorded, there might be a very small discrepancy on some of them, and that will be the reason why. So when that paper is launched, it will go straight onto our website. I'll make sure that it's launched on LinkedIn and everywhere like that so that people are aware of it. Our alumni get it before everybody else, so they will get it a few days, I think the 3 full days, to get early visibility of it. So just a little disclaimer there on the data. I know that we are attention to detail people, and so I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that it's all the same data. It just happens to be literally the snapshot of when we took it that there might be teeny tiny discrepancy.
Yeah, good to point out, Kat. So we'll flag that on LinkedIn and on our website when we have it finalised. I just want to take a moment to mention the Design Focus Group, which is a focus group with APMP UK that I am chair of, and we're always looking for new members. So if you're on the call because you have an interest in design and in bid design in particular, we'd love to have you join if you were interested in becoming a member, and give me a little message on LinkedIn, or you can email me. My email is at the end of the talk. But yeah, we're just really passionate about design. We're always trying to push it forward, and this group is just another step, another way to sort of put design in the spotlight in our industry. And I'm really excited about being chair for it, and hopefully we will see some of you on there. Yeah, that's it. We're ready for Q&A if you have any questions. Hopefully you're able to understand me. I know that I speak very fast. Sorry about that.
We did have a question from Kirsty on the chat, just asking about recommended PowerPoint tutorials, and Marion has kindly responded on our behalf just to let her know that we can do PowerPoint training to suit whatever level you're at and to suit whatever assets you may or may not already have, and create something for you. So happy to talk that through after this webinar and run through what your actual requirements are, but we can absolutely do tutorials that are a bit more tailored, rather than just generic ones, which is obviously useful for people.
I can't remember any of the ones that I would have done, but I think when my main approach is when I am struggling with trying to get something to work, I usually just Google that particular thing, and then I end up in a rabbit hole of different stuff being shown to me. So yeah, can't really recommend particular ones. But as you said, we offer trainings also.
And obviously there's an awful lot of data that that Kira has shown there, and we've gone through it fairly quickly because we wanted to have the designer's perspective on what you had said. So all of that detail, as I say, will be covered in the white paper. But if there was anything that anyone particularly had wanted us to go back onto slide or had any interest in having a look at, then we would be happy to do that. Just have a shout in the chat.
Thank you for all your comments and stuff. I'll read through them in a little while. If there are any other questions people would like us to address, do let us know. I just wanted to shout out to David, saying he's shocked about the naivety in the process about timing. Yeah, it is amazing that some people think that some stuff takes so little time. I think people think because you can't see the wall being built block by block, that they forget how much work goes behind the building of a good piece of design or a website or whatever. And they just think because you've got a computer, you basically have a magic wand and that you can do it quite quickly, which, is not the case really.
We've got a couple of questions through. What are your thoughts on Canva?
Not a fan, obviously. Not just because I think it's great that people are able to get stuff done. The everyday layman is able to use it, but I don't like that one in particular because I think it just ends up generating a lot of samey stuff. Like it's all based on templates. So you do, when you're on social media in particular, you can easily spot stuff that's been done in Canva. It'll get you out of a hole, and it's certainly maybe good for a startup or somewhere who doesn't have budget. But if you want to have standout, if you want to be unique, have a unique brand, I would avoid. But I would say that when I am designer.
And someone has said that they find interactive PDFs created in InDesign better than PowerPoint slide presentations.
Oh, definitely, yeah. In fairness, PowerPoint is just trying to do so much, and there's actually even more capability in the background. You have to go in and basically apply the options to the ribbon in order to use a lot of it. But it was so clearly designed by non-designers, and it's not intuitive and stuff. But I feel like the way we use PowerPoint is very much in it as a workaround. And it's really exciting when you figure out how to get something done that really shouldn't work in PowerPoint. But yeah, for interactive PDFs, absolutely, Adobe would be much smoother and much prettier.
And there was a great question from Alec, which is, what's your advice for when you feel that a design or page isn't working? So a bit like writer's block, but with design. Have you got a good tactic for that?
Yeah. So one thing I used to do is change the text to ipsum lorem, so that I'm not reading it, and it's just if you think it's a visual thing, and then so you're just looking at it and like an outline in many ways, or printing it out, or coming away from it for a couple of hours or even overnight if you have time for that, really helps, because if you're staring at something really long or working on something else for a bit of time. And then
sometimes looking at somebody else's artwork, somebody's style, even if you go into Pinterest or on Google, just to get a bit of inspiration, a bit of enlightenment, something simple as that, just taking 2 minutes away from your desk or looking at other artwork, or even looking at magazines or other people's work is a perfect way to do it.
Yeah.
Just going back to the question on Canva, John RMD has given a brilliant bit in the chat. I don't know if you've seen it, but he said there's a quote in his BPC Nashville presentation that he's doing later in the month, which is that Canva is primarily a template design tool for amateurs. It's very popular because anyone can pick a template, customize it for their business, and produce something that looks respectably professional without a designer. And it's reasonably priced. But it's also why everything on your social feed looks similar, because it's all templated. Yeah. And it's so true. It's what I use for any invitation for anything as well, but I just used the one from last year and update the details. Yeah. It's very, very true. And Marion, get for that question about how if you have like writer's block or designer's block, remind yourself of the key message that needs communicating and start from there. That's a good piece of advice as well, I think.
Yeah.
And then there was a question about Adobe XD, but Rachel has said that she thinks it's discontinued. Has anyone ventured into the world of Adobe XD?
I've never used that, actually.
No, never used it, sorry.
It's funny, we have subscriptions to Creative Cloud, and there must be 30, 40 apps in there. I wouldn't say I've opened half of them. You wouldn't have time, but I'm sure there's a lot of stuff still to be discovered. But according to Rachel, it's been discontinued, so we'll be discovering that one.
Yeah. And Daniel was saying he'd love to know more about Flipbooks and on what and how that's sort of related to bids, how that's being asked for in bids. Have you got any insight on that?
Oh yeah, I think it's more about in the business development aspect, because I think I say the Flipbooks are used for salespeople, and they're basically sort of like plays or approaches to selling. So we would have been asked to design them, we'll say in a client's branding. And so they are very often about making sure that the messaging is on point, and then that it's visual and easily understood. So they're like self-training manuals or how-to books that salespeople keep on their desks. Open to correction there, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. So we would have been asked to design them because maybe we'd be helping a client out in terms of a bid, and then they might often ask us to help on other stuff, because we don't just do bids and proposals. We do all design. We design for the whole business development cycle. So anything that feeds into that, we can help out with.
Perfect.
Yeah. Do we offer InDesign courses? I don't think we have before, but we certainly could.
Got a feeling that Marion might have done something.
Oh yeah, maybe Kim. I haven't done one, but we have a team of 7, and I wouldn't be surprised if we have done.
Yes, we've had a gentleman, as just mentioned, Kim. Kim has went out to other design companies and just shared his knowledge about InDesign and also design in general. So I'm sure something could be tailored towards them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Kirsty, I'll loop back with you, because there are obviously a couple of questions about what we could offer. So mostly we would be able to tailor something to meet your needs. So yes, we could do something that covered all of those aspects and tools that you were asking about there. There's just a little and a response from Aaron there, but so Kirsty said, recently worked with a designer who was keen to leave white space on some pages, which we are often told, to allow. I like the. I'm sure John will be screaming into his microphone now about allowing space for the text to breathe. I'm sure I've got that in my head as something that he has said to me before. Yes. But how it's often our kind of ambition to try and fill the space with images and make it really exciting to look at. So, what are your thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah. It's tricky because you'll come onto a project, and obviously they're trying to get their message across, and they're trying to make every word count. Sometimes there's a word count limit, so they're trying, or a page limit. So you are in there trying to literally balance the best practice with making sure that the story comes across. Sometimes you can create white space, in ways that you wouldn't think. Like, let's say if you had an image of two people chatting in an office, if you cut out the background and just had the two people, your image then is still getting its point across. It often looks much nicer, and there's more space around it, but you're still doing this. You still got the same amount of content, if you know what I mean. But yeah, we are also pro white space as designers, but it's a little different in bids and proposals when you're trying to, as I said, to get everything on the page. I like Kat or Marion's response: white space to breathe, images to attract.
Yeah, very good.
Thanks for all your questions. It's been really great having such engagement. What are your thoughts on single column, 2 columns, 3 columns? Maybe I'll let you take that one, Scott.
Well, I think,
And justified text as well.
yeah, justified text. The best way to put it is, are you viewing it on screen or are you viewing it on paper? Because if you're viewing it on screen and you've got 2 columns, the person might be scrolling up and down. It looks really nice, but sometimes it's best to go single column. 3 columns is pushing it sometimes. I would say that it looks really nice and really justified. But if you're going for the newspaper effect, newspapers, especially the high-end ones, are 3 columns and justified. I do love it in some designs, 3 columns and justified, but I think when it comes to bids, it can be a bit hard on the eye, may I say. But I think it also comes down to personal preference, how many words you can get into that, because in 2 columns you can actually get more words in than a single column. And if you've got a bid that needs to get as many words into a short space, then definitely go for a 2 column.
Often you'll have a 3 column grid, but you might not necessarily have 3 columns of text in that grid. You'd maybe still only have 2 columns of text, and then the 3rd column space would be filled with an image or a graphic. You very rarely would you see a page full of text top to bottom. So it's always balance, isn't it?
Yes. And then that comes back to the white space and graphics from earlier.
And there does seem to be a resounding unjustified or ragged edge, as it's often called, text, which certainly the way that I was taught for bids was to not have it justified, because you do get those insane random gaps, don't you? It's it's
really only appropriate in newspapers and some magazines.
I've noticed, but an awful lot of American people like to have it justified, so it might move itself over here, but right now, yes, please leave it unjustified.
No justification for unjustified.
Oh dear. And the other thing with justification, I've noticed that AI tools get quite a lot of things that they like a bit of justified text, same as they like the, I can never remember, it's N dash or M dash. There's 2 different ones, aren't there? But that elongated dash that no one has ever used ever before AI got involved. You can just totally tell when someone's put something through ChatGPT, because it's like, why is this long dash appeared in my text? And John's really good point there about never forgetting that evaluators will still print out your document or have it on the screen and scribble on it as they score it. So you need to allow space for that. It works on screen as well as off screen. I certainly have reviewed, with a stylus on screen and wanted to be able to write in margins or in white space. So it's very useful for that as well.
And along that lines, accessibility is also important to consider. So if you're printing a dark colour and then white text on top of it, if someone prints that, they might not necessarily be able to read it if the text is small. Lots of stuff to consider.
That was really good chat, everybody. Oh, we've got one more. We've probably got time for one more to squeeze in before the meeting finishes.
We do, yeah.
What are your thoughts on bolding words or phrases in text, for example, an added value offer?
I'm open to it. I think anything that, because again, even though we're talking about design in bids and proposals, so we always have to be reminding ourselves of what we're trying to achieve, which is to highlight the benefits, tell the story and tell it well, and make sure that it's clear on the page. And so maybe whereas in a book or something you might not necessarily be highlighting words or bolding them, it's appropriate with proposals when it's used in the right way. So
yes, like Rachel has mentioned, use it sparingly, because if you do every 3rd, 4th sentence on bold, it's just going to be lost. Just highlight 3 or 4 key facts in that whole page. That's the best way to do it.
It's all about building hierarchy, and it's just bolding is another way to add a bit of hierarchy, but you should really have your hierarchy set out in your headings and your colours and stuff, so that you're not over relying on bolding words here and there.
And I think, I was with you all, but the example of an added value offer, I'm not crazy on having that as bolded.
The phrasing.
Totally a personal thing there, but so if it genuinely is an added value offer, but I just literally think that one example you gave there was one that I'd be like, just be very, very careful that it really does add value to the client. If you're going to bold something, you've got to be able to evidence it, back it up. It's got to be something that's one of your key themes, or that it's woven in somewhere, substantiated, rather than just, I do find that sometimes people are a little bit, like they've taken a kind of peppermill to it and gone, oh yeah, well, bold that one, and that one, because they're nice words or they're good words. It needs to be part of your story. Otherwise, it just looks wrong.
Yeah.
Look, Alec has snuck a last one in. Is there a certain sector or client type that is increasingly open to designed PDF proposals or vice versa, and going back to Word-only templates? Similar question to what Kirsty's asked as well. So what sector's focusing on design in their for their bids the most?
Oh, interesting.
It's an interesting question.
I've had an awful lot of private sectors doing PDFs. I know public sector is very Excel sheets, a bit via Excel sheets.
Yeah.
But the private sector is a very big one for doing PDFs. They like their images, they like to see the information in front of them.
Yeah. So most of them, in fact, like with our clients are from a wide range of sectors. So recently I've been working with a law firm. They are very open to design and designing. They ask for a series of templates. So I think a lot of our clients have been looking for well-designed documents in PowerPoint so that they can then edit and stuff, and then they would make a PDF or we'd make a PDF from that. So for us, most of our clients are looking for designed, but then I guess that's what the service we offer. So I don't know if that's a bit skewed. Most people are looking for design documents because we have, unless they're in public sector, which there's a lot of limitations, as we know.
Very good. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you, everybody, for your contribution, for your questions, for your interaction. It is much appreciated and makes this a much more interesting webinar. We do have 3 more over the coming weeks. If you're not sure what they are, they're all listed with the links on our LinkedIn page or on our webpage. Otherwise, I will make sure that this is saved to our website probably tomorrow, and I will send a link out on this meeting chat so that everyone who did attend, because I know there were some people that had issues, will have access to the recording should they not have been able to see the slides.
Yeah.
But thank you for your contribution and your input.
Thank you, everyone.
We appreciate it. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.